Compost is good. Ladybug actually buys a lot of their compost from New Earth, so it's sort of the same thing. New Earth's the best compost you're going to buy in bulk, but you know, you don't need to buy a truckload of compost to get 2 cups of material.
I bought like 6 yards, and I had some left over,
Sure.
half a yard.
Yeah.
Just put it in a pile, just take some of that.
That's fine, just fine. Yes.
Is the compost tea enough to fight the early blight, or do I need to put some cornmeal in it to help with it? Because I get it.
I'd probably put some cornmeal in it to help. In my garden, early blight is not that much of a problem, so I can't claim that I'm a real expert on controlling it. It does seem to be more of a problem in some gardens, but I know the compost tea will definitely help.
Well, the plant wash works, but this seems like a better idea.
Okay.
Probably varieties of tomatoes too, I think.
That very definitely has something to do with it. Some tomatoes, Romas, and some of the others are very definitely more susceptible. Yellow pear is much more susceptible to early blight than red pear in my experience. This is why you keep records. You know, if you were here last week for the vegetable garden seminar, that old rural mailbox I told you to take and put out in your vegetable garden, you write down what you're doing and what you're planting, because then you'll know what went right and what went wrong. Do you know the question?
Yeah, previous seminars you were talking about the different composters around here, and I get mine from Fertile Gardens because it's close to me.
They don't want you to know if the first garden buys a lot of compost from New Earth.
But now they're selling two types. One is a cow manure or cow compost, and the other is a horse/turkey compost. Should I get both of them? I mean, the one's more expensive than the other, or can I just go with the cheaper of the two?
You're only going to need a cup or 2 of it.
Well, I'm using it for my gardens as well, but I'm
On your garden, I'm going to tell you to experiment. See what works best. The turkey compost is going to have more fertilizer per se, and it's going to have more nitrogen in it than the cow, because it takes material a lot longer to go through the cow, so to speak. Cow has a much more complex digestive system. It's why a horse has to eat 3 times as much as a cow does, because the stuff goes through the horse's intestine a whole lot faster. It's why you get weed seed in horse manure, but not in cow manure. Cows are much more efficient machines at processing what they eat, so there is much less nutrient left in the cow manure when it comes out the back end of the cow. Turkeys and chickens process things very quickly and not super efficiently, so their manures tend to have a lot more nitrogen and, quote, fertilizer quality to it. Does that make sense?
If I'm adding fertilizer, then it's no big deal.
Then it's no big deal in the garden.
Gotcha.
Don't add fertilizer if you're making your compost tea.
No.
But again, if you want to go out to Fertile Garden Supply, tell them what you're doing, and they'll let you go out with a little bag and pick up whatever you want, not even charge you for it. They're good guys. At least tell them I said they would.
What do you comment because of the Picloram issue? Is that also something to avoid with the compost tea?
Picloram is deadly, and nothing known to man breaks down Picloram. So you very strictly, Picloram is not necessarily going to hurt the microbes in your tea, but Picloram is going to hurt the plants that you put the tea on. So, yeah. You need to be very sure that your compost is Picloram free. And of course, you've heard me. Picloram, of course, is the herbicide that some people spray on their hay fields, goes right through the cow or the horse, comes out in the manure. Picloram kills everything except grass. Oak trees, clover, weeds, everything except grass, Picloram kills. And it is not broken down in the animal that eats it. So it comes out in the manure, and everywhere you put that manure, then it's going to start killing. I mean, that's why you see big dead oak trees out in the middle of the field. The rancher sprayed that hay crop with Picloram. The cows have eaten the hay. They go over and lie down in the shade to take a little nap. They get up, they pee, they poop underneath the tree, and pretty soon the tree's dead. Picloram is just bad news. If you're getting manure from somewhere for your garden and you don't know whether it may be Picloram contaminated or not, you take some of that manure, take an extra bucket. Take that bucket, fill it 2/3 full with manure, fill that with water, let it soak for a day or 2, and then take that water out and go find a broadleaf weed, clover, dandelion, something like that. Pour that exudate off of the manure on it and watch it for a couple days. If the weed shrivels up and dies, yeah, there's Picloram in the manure. If the weed continues to grow and thrive, not enough Picloram to worry about.
All my hay that I had,
Yeah.
it was all, he had a Picloram on it, because I put it on that wide leaf, there was a big tall one, and it all died. So all my compost pile that I have the hay, it's all bad.
All bad, yep. Yes, sir.
Is there any advantage to yeast in a microbial aspect of
Yeast,
were
of
to
course,
put-
is a fungus. It's an ascomycete, but I don't know that it is beneficial, really, in compost tea. Yeast, of course, in its metabolism makes alcohol.
Right, that's why.
And alcohol kills most other things.
That's why I would say you.
So I probably, yeast isn't really going to hurt. And I mean, if you happen to get some of the brewery waste or something like that,
That's what I
that's
was
probably okay. But I wouldn't use that for making compost tea.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
On that Picloram, can you make an attempt? I'm not having any luck spelling it, and I really need to find out about it. I'm raising worms, and I have some horse manure being offered, and I don't want to get any.
You do not want Picloram in there. There's nothing known to man that breaks down Picloram. So you've either got to find out where the hay came from that was being fed to these horses, or you've got to test it. And that simple soak test, pour on the dandelion, is as effective as a several $100 lab test.
Has anyone done any kind of life cycle or persistency studies on Picloram?
The chemical companies that make it are suppressing that kind of work. They don't want the word out, because if people knew how bad it was, eventually you get taken off the market. I don't know of anyone who's done the studies. Malcolm Beck feels like that in a commercial compost pile, when you get temperatures up 180, 185, that it breaks down the Picloram to some extent. I don't know that I agree with that. I think it's just diluting it down to the point that you don't see the effects as much. But in a home compost pile, you're never going to get rid of it.
How do you spell it?
Picloram, Picloram. And it's sold under names like Grazon and P+D and things like that. Okay, back to making compost tea. We've taken the compost bag out of that, and we've got it sitting here bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. When is the ideal time to use it? Anytime after about 18 hours, you're going to have a lot of microbes in there, and it would be a good time to use it. After 24 hours to probably 36 hours, that is probably the optimum time. That is when you're going to have the highest concentration of microbes in there. After about 36 hours to 48 hours, they have started to use up the materials that you put in there, to help them grow and reproduce and all. And the good qualities of it start to decrease. Certainly after 48 hours, they have decreased substantially.
Is that 16 to 24 hours after you take the bag out? Or is that total time?
That's total time.
Total time, so it'd be like 16 hours then after the bag comes
Yeah.
out.
We make our compost tea 8 o'clock on Friday mornings. We start selling it at 10 o'clock on Saturdays, and it's very good. When I look at it, when I get in here at 6 a.m. on Sunday mornings, it's probably going to have the optimum levels of it in there. But we kind of figured we make it early Saturday, it's early Friday, it's great all day Saturday and Sunday. At the end of the day, Sunday, we take what's left, and either I take it home or we pour it on the plants around here. But people who use it and use it with some regularity really do see somewhat amazing results with it. Now, how often should you use it? If you use it 2 or 3 times a year, it's going to help. If you've got badly compacted soil or if you've got serious disease conditions, you could use it once a week. I know Wendy had some issues with the new house and a new garden. She used it about once a week for about 8 or 10 weeks and said it was just miraculous what it did. Other people put it on once or twice a year and feel like they see real good results. So there's really no such thing as too much or too little. Anything you do is going to be beneficial. Now, if you're using this bucket, or if we're using that compost tea maker to make compost tea, we want to clean it thoroughly after we take the tea out of it. We can get what are known as biofilms built up on the inside, and biofilms can contain some not so good things, some things that we really don't want to be reproducing. So clean your bucket thoroughly, get a little hydrogen peroxide or something, drop your air stones down in there to clean them thoroughly. And once that bucket, after you've used it 15, 20 times, probably just as good to go on and get another bucket. But scrub them as best you can, and if you want to use a disinfectant to clean them out, probably hydrogen peroxide is about the best disinfectant you can use because it goes away completely. It breaks down to nothing but to water and oxygen. H2O2 becomes H2O.